Welcome back to the channel, guys. I know you're probably confused to what's going on, but I'm going to try to explain everything in this video and make it as short as I possibly can. But basically, if you read the title by now, I am deciding to quit Dead by Daylight after around 4 years of playing the game. So yeah, let's talk about that. So a little over a month ago now, I did my last DBD stream, and you could tell I wasn't really feeling it. I had a lot I had to do, and I just wasn't getting very good games. And then I had a game where I was on the RPD map, which I don't like that map, and I was going against a Trickster, which I don't like that killer. So that combination really just kind of threw me over the edge. And you can even see in my stream, on my streaming channel, like you can see how done I was. After that stream ended, because I ended it right after that, I pretty much decided that I was not playing anymore. I even uninstalled the game. And it wasn't a brash decision. Honestly, I've been trying to quit this game probably for a couple years now, and I just never did it. So in this video, I'm going to go through why I'm deciding to quit the game and what you should expect from me from here on out. So to begin, I think I should start with explaining how I got into DBD. And I first started playing DBD in 2018. I don't remember the exact month, but it was basically because I didn't have PC by then. I was on console, I was on my PS4, and it was free for like PS Plus players for that month. So I got it because of that. So when I first started playing, obviously I was really terrible at the game. That's besides the point, but I did have a lot of fun. I was like, this is a game I've never played before. I never played something like this before. And I started playing because my boyfriend was the one who told me to download it, and we would play together. So that kind of added to the fun of it. And since then, there's been a lot of different changes, whether it be personal or changes with the game, that made me think, maybe I'm not going to play this game forever. So the first reason is basically, I'm the type of person who gets bored with games very easily. Most games I've played in my life, I haven't finished, if I'm being honest. I just simply get bored with a game, or if I take like a couple days break from a game and I forget how to play the game, I just don't go back to it. So I was genuinely shocked when I decided to play DBD. I was in college at the time, and after school, after work, I would just play the game for hours on end, and that was never something I did. So considering I started the game in 2018 and it's now 2022, that is a long time for me. 4 years is a long time to play a game for me because I never play more than a couple months. But this game was really fun to me, it was really special to me, so I kept playing. DBD is also the reason I decided to start YouTube, so that's why my channel has pretty much been built on Dead by Daylight. But again, things started to change, and one big change for me was that, like I mentioned already, I started playing with my boyfriend. We would play for, multiple hours, and eventually he decided to not play the game anymore. He didn't think it was fun. He was pretty much done with it like months later, honestly. So I pretty much had to solo queue all the time. And honestly, I don't mind solo queuing. Playing games by myself is honestly very fun, but it can get really, really annoying. And on top of that, there were just certain things within the game, like gameplay mechanics or just really dumb stuff happening that really made it even more jarring to play. So after a year or two of playing, I started to feel like I wasn't loving the game as much as I did when I first started playing. So this thought in my head started coming up like, oh, when am I going to quit? When am I going to quit? When am I going to quit? One of the main reasons that kept me with the game was the fact that not only did I enjoy the game, but also I built an audience on that. And yeah, I'm not very big on YouTube. I understand that. And of course, I appreciate all the current subs that I have, but I was still feeling this pressure of continuing the game because, oh, well, they want to see it. They want to see it. I have to keep going. And like the end of 2020 and sometime in 2021, you could see that I started to upload videos even less. My commentary wasn't as interesting. You could tell I wasn't having as much fun with the game. And that's mainly because the game started to feel like a chore for me. I would play for like a couple hours to record a video, and it kind of felt a bit like torture, I'm not going to lie. But I kept going because I felt like I had to. And I don't know why I felt like that. Maybe it's just the anxiety that I feel on a daily basis for no reason. But I just kept trying and trying, even though it would take me hours and hours to record a video and I just wouldn't get good games. And obviously I understand that quantity doesn't necessarily mean quality, and I would try so hard to record a video, but it just wouldn't work out for multiple reasons. Sometimes I would just have days where I'm just not doing very well. Sometimes mentally I'm just not really into it, so that also affects the gameplay. Sometimes I get killers back to back to back that I'm just not great against, or maps that I don't like going on, or just whatever. So there were many factors on why the game wasn't as fun as it used to be. And on top of that, in general, I just was losing interest in the game. At the end of the day, even though every 3 months they add new killer, new survivor, new map, new perks, whatever, at the end of the day, it's still the same game. Eventually, the gameplay does get stale, especially when you have multiple games where either you're only being chased by the killer or you're only on gens. There's not much else you can really do in the game. So eventually, after playing it over and over again, you start to get a little bored with it. And I'm not the only person that feels this way with this game. A lot of people that have been playing the game for 4 years or 6 years, they feel a little burnt out because it's like, what else am I going to do? It's the same thing. But again, I didn't know how to actually leave the game. I've been playing this game for multiple years. I started to build a community based around it. And I didn't really have many other games to play. I tried all the other games. I played last year and Last Year to Nightmare. I played Hide or Die. I played like other games that I wanted to make work, but it just wasn't as fun. So my solution last year was basically to play the game less, especially since I didn't really have a lot of time. I had my full-time job. There was other things I was working on, so I didn't have time to play the game all the time, and especially to record it all the time. So basically, whenever I had my recording day, which I think was like Tuesdays, I would record for a couple hours. If I didn't get the footage I needed, then I would make myself stop. So that was just a way to kind of solve it for the time being, even though, again, I knew that I didn't want to continue to play the game in the long run. So then one thing that happened last year that really made it even more draining was the addition of MMR. Now, MMR is the reason that a lot of players have actually left the game thus far. But again, for me, I had already been thinking of leaving the game. So MMR was more of an additional factor than the factor itself. And I have to admit, when MMR first was implemented, it was terrible, especially for someone who wasn't playing the game as much as they used to. And I don't see myself as some type of god in the game because, again, I didn't play it enough. But I still played it enough. I still had enough experience. I played it for 4 years. So when I would get matched with a bunch of people that just weren't very good at the game, didn't make great decisions, it just made your games even worse, especially when you're going through solo queue experience. And it was especially bad when you would get teammates that were like worse in skill than you, but then would get killers that were higher in skill than you. So then it just felt like you weren't winning ever. And I never really cared about winning, and I never really cared about escaping. If you've watched my gameplay videos, you know that I don't care. I will goof off at the exit gate and die if it meant I was having fun. But MMR was definitely making it harder to have fun. But eventually, I don't remember how long after it was implemented, but eventually it did kind of balance out. Even though I still wasn't playing as much, so I was still like middle ground when it came to like ranks or grades, I was getting teammates that, you know, sometimes they weren't as high of a skill, I guess, but they were decent at least. They weren't making super dumb mistakes. And I was getting killers that, you know, weren't super easy or super hard. So it started to balance out a little bit, so things seemed okay, I guess. But in general, I still wasn't having that much fun. And my opinions on the game really started to change last year because I started to play Apex. And even though it's a drastically different game, it really made me not want to play as much. So that added a lot to it also. Because obviously, since Apex was a new game for me, it was going to be more fun to play. I was going to want to play it more. But also, there was less issues I had with Apex. There's still issues I have with it. Even to this day, it's been a little over a year since I started the game. But there were less issues I was having compared to DBD, where there were just so many issues. I just felt like I couldn't have a break. And honestly, it made me want to really start playing other games. And last year I got to play, you know, VHS, and that was still a different game, but it was still interesting and fun and something different other than DBD. It's another reason I started playing The Sims again, because I just wanted a game where I can just relax and not worried about any type of competitive play and just have something different. So when I decided to start constantly streaming at the beginning of this year in January, things seemed to go actually pretty decent. Like I said, MMR started to kind of balance out. It didn't feel as bad or as dreadful. And on top of that, I was playing Apex in my spare time, and sometimes I was playing it on stream. And I also have VHS since I had got a beta key, and everything seemed fine. I was also playing Sims, so everything balanced out. I was playing DBD very, very little. Like, for the first time since I started the game, I was playing it only a little bit. Back when I first started playing, like I said, I was playing it for hours and hours on end. And in January, I was only playing it when I streamed it, which was 2 hours a week. And I know that seems insane. Like, what? You only play 2 hours a week? How can you play a game and only play it 2 hours a week? And it just worked better. I felt like I was a little less annoyed, and it was just something that I didn't have to worry about all the time. And overall, like I said, it was just better for me. So I thought things were going well for a couple months, especially since I became consistent with streaming and all of that. And then, I think it was March when I last streamed or something like that, I just wasn't feeling it. I was thinking even more about not wanting to play the game, thinking even more about, VHS being a thing, and me getting even more into Apex and taking it more seriously. And also I wanted to get back into story games because those are some of my favorite games to play. And on top of that, I really wanted to get into my art because I've been pushing it off for a couple years because I've been focusing on my YouTube and on gaming and stuff because it's just frankly easier. I just have to play a game and then that's it. But with art, I have to do a little more, obviously. So I really want to start focusing on that too. So it became pretty obvious to me that I just did not have enough time in a day to do everything that I wanted to do. And I started to realize that I really only wanted to focus on things that made me happy and that I was passionate about in XYZ. So I knew this year was going to be my last year playing DBD. I just didn't know when the right time was until I had my last DBD stream. Again, I had a lot to work on. I had some art orders for my business to work on. I was stressed with other stuff. Mentally, I just wasn't feeling very well. So when I had that stream and I just had terrible games and I just wasn't feeling it, it just made me want to say, yeah, I'm done. That's it. I don't want any more to do with this game. And I even uninstalled it because I didn't want to go back on my decision. I will admit though, like a week ago when they did the anniversary stream, it was a bit tempting, especially when I heard about, the Attack on Titan cosmetics because that's pretty dope. But I had to stand my ground and just say, no, I think I'm really done with it. And overall, I think I've just outgrown the game. There's other games I want to play. There's other things I want to do with my life. And I just think this chapter of my life is just done. And I know by now I've said a lot of general things. I haven't said my actual issues with the game. It just sounds like, oh, she got bored with it. But obviously there's a little more to that. So let me talk a little bit about it. I don't want to get too into it, but let's talk about it. So a lot of people, especially when MMR was implemented, they like to say, oh, I miss the old DBD, oh, I miss the old days, and things like that. And I don't like to reminisce on a game like that because I think people overestimate how good DBD used to be back in the day because it wasn't perfect. It was never perfect. There were always issues. Even back when I first started playing, there were tons of different issues. And some of those issues, not even some, a lot of those issues we still have till this day. So I think a lot of times people say, oh, I miss the old DBD. I think it's more of a nostalgia type thing because it always had issues. But I think one of the things that really started making my time with DBD a little draining was certain killers. Like, yes, there's certain maps I don't like going on, and sometimes that can really suck, especially if you get a lot of those maps within the same play session. That can really suck, but mostly it was the killers for me. And again, there were always killers that annoyed me. I mean, that's part of any game, and I was fine with it. I remember how annoying Legion was when he first came out. I don't know if y'all remember that, but Legion was overpowered and that was really annoying to go against. And obviously they nerfed him after that. And maybe it's just because the roster was a lot smaller. So there were a lot less annoying killers back then compared to today, I guess. But the killer that really started making me annoyed, anytime they showed up in my game was Deathslinger. When Deathslinger first came out, that's really when it started to become very draining for me. I just did not like his playstyle. I hated the fact that he pretty much had no terror radius. I hated the fact that he can just raise his harpoon or whatever it's called with pretty much no consequences. It's like if there's a window right there and you're about to go to it, it's like, oh, if I vote this, then he's going to shoot me and then hit me. Or I can dodge it, but if he fakes the shot, then he can shoot me. So a lot of times it just felt like there wasn't much you can do. And I hate that type of feeling in the game. I never want to feel like there's nothing or there's very little that I can do, you know? And I'm not saying it's like impossible to go against Deathslinger, and obviously since then he's been nerfed, but it was really difficult and annoying to go against the Deathslinger. And because he was strong, a lot of people play him, so you saw him a lot. So that was also really annoying. So I feel like Deathslinger was definitely the first killer where it was like, anytime I see this killer, I do not want to play. Now, granted, I'm not the type to just DC because of a killer, but it still would suck to play against them. And then after a while, it seemed like they kept creating killers that I just didn't like going against, particularly killers that I guess they're called like anti-loop killers. And no, it's not because I'm a survivor man and I want to loop the killer for, 5 gens. It's not that. It's just, again, I never want to feel like there's not much I can do. So if I talk about the killers I hate going against the most, like Deathslinger or Trickster or the Artist or somebody like that, they put you in situations a lot of times where there's not much you can do, especially depending on the map and especially depending on the loop. And I would definitely say the killer I probably hate the most is Trickster, because if you get on a map that has pretty much a lot of short loops, like Autohaven, for example, especially towards the middle, has a lot of short loops. So then he can just shoot you over it. And yeah, you can try to like crouch and dodge it, but he can throw it so fast that like you have to prepare for it. You have to know it's coming. And on top of that, when you crouch, you're automatically slower. So even if they hold the knife, they're going to make it up to, like, distance-wise, they're going to make it up to you eventually. So a lot of times it just felt like there was just not much you can do. And I think what makes that even worse is that the game itself, when we're talking about ping and hitboxes, those are always crazy. And that's another big reason to why I was annoyed with the game. There are many, many times I've played the game, I've played the match, and I'm looping the killer pretty well. And somehow they hit me when they really should not have hit me. It's like they're around the corner, I vault a window, I've already completely vaulted the window and somehow they hit me. Like those type of hits. And it's just ridiculous because it's pretty obvious that that would never stop happening. Even if you have really good internet, which I don't have the best internet, but I have decent internet. And even if you have the really best internet, you're still going to have these issues. And again, that's another example of there was not much you could do about it. So then you add that in with the fact that certain killers were kind of like, oh, there's not much you can do about it. It just felt very draining, especially since these killers tend to have very high pick rates. Like, there's a lot of people that play Trickster, so it's like I can't escape it. You don't get a lot of variety when it comes to different killers. And no, it's not just me being like, oh, I don't want to go against strong killers. Because like Blight, for example, we can all agree that he's fairly strong, but I'm actually fine going against Blight because a lot of times it doesn't feel like there's not much I can do. You know, it feels like a lot of times it's more just his skill got me, you know, it's like, oh, well, that was a good play. Not much I can say there. But with the other killers like Trickster, a lot of times that doesn't happen. It's just, oh, I can shoot you right here because there's nothing here blocking it. And that sucks. But that's pretty much my main gripe about killers. As far as maps, I don't know if I have much to say about maps. I will say that when they rework maps, it definitely seems like there's less palettes, which I guess I'm fine with because one of the complaints before reworks was that, oh, there was too many palettes for survivors. But it felt like there were too many dead zones. Like there were too many times where I'm working on gen and a killer comes, and yes, I could be more aware of my surroundings, that's whatever. But like the killer will come, I'll get off the gen and run, like say they're coming from this way, I'll run this way. And then there's like nothing there. And I'm like, it's one thing if a pallet's already used, but like for there to not be anything there but like some trash or something, just some obstacles just for filler, like that felt like it was happening a lot. On top of there being like a lot of pallets, like how Hawkins was, like a lot of short pallets. I hate that. So I don't know. I don't have like a big gripe with maps, but there's definitely certain maps where I'm like, yeah, this is dumb to be on. Like being on Dead Dog Saloon as a survivor is dumb. The only time I've like won on those maps, like escaped on those maps, is when the killer just isn't very good. And that's all. Because those maps are, the loops are so bad. The space in between is so large. It's just, after a while it gets annoying. Especially if you have certain killers. Like having a clown on that map, there's nothing you can do. With those short loops, he's just going to throw his bottle down, slow you down, and he's instantly just going to hit you. There's not much you can do about that. Now, another thing I want to mention was boon totems, because that stirred up a lot of controversy in the DBD community. So let's talk about it. For me, boon totems never really seemed that OP. Yes, Circle of Healing did need a nerf. I know a lot of people were really upset about the nerf, but it needed some type of nerf because it could stack way too easily. But my problem with boon totems is that, yes, this happens with any online multiplayer game after a couple years. Like, you're going to run out of ideas. And I think with boon totems, it became very obvious that they started to run out of ideas. I personally don't like boon totems because, for one, they released it for every chapter, and it's like, we don't continuously need boon totems and hex totems. Like, please create something else. On top of every single boon totem, like, they're not unique. And I don't know if I'm the only one who notices that, because I've never seen anyone else mention this. Everyone always talks about Circle of Healing and, you know, how it stacks and stuff. But for me, for boon totems, it's the fact that they're not even unique perks. Every single boon totem is a perk that's just temporary and stronger. That's it. Circle of Healing, we obviously have other healing perks that work. It's just this one is stronger, and, well, it's nerfed now, but ideally it's stronger and it's temporary. You can break it and, you know, all that stuff. Then you have ones like Shadow Step, where it's like, oh, you can't see your scratch marks or whatever. And it's like, we have perks like that. We literally have perks like Dance With Me and things like that. Or even Quick and Quiet would be in that category of just like escaping the killer quickly. Or even that Jonah one, what is it, like Exponential or whatever, where you could pick yourself up off the ground. And it's like, we have Unbreakable, we have Soul Guard and all that. Like, we already have perks like that. Every single boon totem is something that's already existing. It's obvious that they ran out of ideas. So that's why I don't really like boon totems, because I kind of miss the days where we had original stuff. Like I remember when Head On came out, like, that was such a fun time. Even Deception coming out, that was a fun time, you know. But like perks now, it's just like, oh, here's boon totems or here's hex totems. And basically the overall thing with like new Survivor and killer perks, it's just like, oh, we're gonna do gen regression perks. And then it's like, oh, we're gonna do gen progression perks. And it's like, that's just so boring. We already have so many perks and abilities, or not abilities, but like, you know, like killer powers and items for survivors that already add to that. And I think it just really highlights how little there is to do in this game. Because if we keep doing things that help with gen regression or gen progression, it shows that that's really the only thing you have to do. And there's definitely something that needs to be done about that. I don't know if there's a new game mode or if they need to change the existing game mode. I really don't know. But the gameplay is just too stale. And as far as a lot of my issues for the game, I think another reason it was so difficult for me to leave was that I was holding out hope. I really was. But eventually I had to just really like pretty much sit myself down and like really be like, yeah, it's not really going to change. Like, things have been this way for years and years now. And at the end of the day, like, they built the game a certain way. It's kind of hard to just change it. And even though it's definitely possible and they could do it, they're not going to. It's pretty evident that that's not something they would do. So I just don't think anything's going to change. And the anniversary event did make me a little hesitant, not just because of the Attack on Titan cosmetics, but also because some of the things they said, like reducing the grind, for example. And I heard some things where I was like, oh, that's really good. Like, that's a really good change. And I'm excited to see what else they could change. But I really had to stop myself from going further with that. Because at the end of the day, it is a little too late. I mean, it has been 6 years, you know, and they're just now addressing some issues that people have complained about for years. And even though these are some good changes that they announced, there's truly no guarantee that they would continue to do stuff like that. So I don't know, because again, the game is already built how it's built. You know, it already has everything in it the way it is, and they can change things and do balance changes and stuff, but I just don't think, I think that the main issues that the game have are always going to be there. And I don't know if I want to stay and stick around for that. And I guess another complaint could be like the events and stuff, because I came in after the whole, because I know like the main event people like to talk about is like that summer barbecue event. I don't remember the name of it, but that was before my time. Okay, I came into the game like 2 years after it released. I did not play that event. I did play like a couple events the next year, but after that they really dropped the ball on events. They didn't really have as many. We had like 2 a year. It got to a point where like if something special was happening, if it was like a special day, they were just like, oh, double blood points. And it's like, is that all you're going to give us? And when it had events, it was just like nothing special. There was nothing new you could do, really. And I also kind of hate that with the events, particularly with the like Halloween events. I don't remember the names of them. But when it first started, it was like, oh, you can earn, you know, these cosmetics for survivors and killers just by playing the game or doing something in the game, right? And then eventually it was like, oh, you can earn these things by, you know, doing what I just said, or you can just buy them in the store. And I just don't like when games do that. Like, if you're going to have something be limited, make it limited. You know, don't bring it back years later. Like, even though it will suck that you never had the chance to get that, let it be limited. That's okay. And don't just put it up in a store. Because then, like, if I have all the money in the world, then I'm just going to buy it. Like, why even waste my time trying to earn it? Like, that just makes no sense to me. So, they definitely dropped the ball on events. Maybe events will get better now. I have no idea. But they definitely need to step it up. That's for sure. But I mean, those are my main issues, I guess. I did start to ramble a little bit. Hopefully this video isn't too long. But those are my main issues with the game. The next issue, which is the last issue, I guess it's more of a personal thing, but let's unravel that a little bit. So the last problem I want to talk about is the community. So let me explain what I mean by that, because obviously I understand that every gaming community is going to have a different group of people in it. There's always going to be people that have differing opinions than other people. So there will always be some kind of conflict. And I'm not saying that DBD has like the most toxic community ever, but there's definitely things that can get annoying over time, particularly like the whole like killer versus survivor thing. It happens all the time, especially on Twitter. I see it, and people are just really nasty to each other just because of differing opinions. And I don't get it. Because like, yeah, I'm a survivor main, but I can still see things from the killer's side. And people would just call each other like out their names because they don't think the same as them. Like, I think one of the big things is like certain perks. Like, killers love to say how Dead Hard is OP. And yes, I'm a survivor man. I just don't think it's OP. Could they nerf it so that you can't use it as much? Okay, I can see that, I guess. But I just don't think it's as OP as people say. Because when I go against killers that like either bait the Dead Hard, because Wraiths can bait the Dead Hard pretty well, or they like expect it. Like, your Dead Hard isn't doing much as far as that. Now, your Dead Hard can give you distance. Yes, that is true. But there's things that the killer can do that like can also do that. You know, like, I don't know why killers make it seem like, oh, survivors have everything and killers have nothing. And I think a big reason to why killers think that survivors have everything is because there's 4 of them. So of course it's going to seem like they have everything, but in all actuality, it's just that there's more of them. So it seems like, you know, that there's more happening. But both sides have their problems, because I also see survivors complain like, oh, Noed is so strong, which I just don't get. Noed really isn't that strong. I don't even feel like I have to explain why it's not that strong. But people will go back and forth like, no, Noed is too strong, or Deadheart is too strong. We don't call each other stupid and call each other offensive names, and then that's that. I don't know why it's like that, but that's definitely an annoying part. But let me get more into like my personal reason why I guess I'm upset at the community. And it's more because if you've seen my video I posted like last February, not of this year, of 2021, where I called out Aaron and Useless for saying the N-word in 2 different situations. I got a lot of really terrible comments from that video. So let me talk about that for a little bit. Now, as a Black person, obviously I hear all the time someone on social media, some content creator or social media influencer who's like, oh, I said the N-word, I'm sorry. And then that's that, you know? And a lot of times I tend to just ignore it because it's like, you don't want to think about that all the time. But when I saw that happen on Twitter last year, it genuinely made me very upset because this was a community that I was actually in. You know, a lot of times it happens with communities that I'm not a part of, so it's very easy to ignore. But since this was a community I was actively in, I was very hurt by it. So once I saw that on Twitter, I immediately, like hours later, recorded the video. I didn't have any plan like of how I was going to talk about it. I just knew that I wanted to talk about it because I knew that, you know, the biggest content creators in the community weren't going to talk about it. And I knew that there probably wasn't going to be anyone Black who was going to talk about it. So I wanted to put a video out. I didn't mean for the video to be as long as it was, but again, I tend to ramble. I'm sure this video will be long too because I tend to ramble. But the response I got from that video was kind of insane. Even the views I got from that video was kind of insane. I kind of knew that it was probably going to get more views than my other videos because, I mean, it's a controversial topic. I knew that was inevitable. I didn't really care what happened from it. I wasn't expecting to get as many subs as I did from it. I did definitely get a lot of unsubs because of it. But I wasn't expecting to get as many subs from it. So that was kind of weird. I also was not expecting the like to dislike ratio to be as crazy as it is. I was not expecting that. And I guess another thing I wasn't expecting, which I guess makes sense, but basically like if somebody watched it and they like agreed with it, I guess, then they would like the video, or maybe not even like the video, they would just go on with their lives. But for the people that really did not like the video, they felt the need to leave comments. And it's really insane because even to this day, I even got like a comment like a couple days ago. Like this is more than a year later because I uploaded it like February 2021. It is now the end of May 2022. And I'm still getting comments, bad comments, mind you, from this video. For some reason, it's more than a year later and I'm somehow getting, and I'm not even saying that, oh, go harass the other guys, but how am I getting harassed more a year later than they are? It's so weird. I would get like a comment randomly one day where someone's like coming to Aaron's defense. And I'm like, he's striving. What are you on about? Seriously. And I've had multiple comments of people telling me that I'm a disgrace to the Black community. I've had people call me different variations of the N-word in my comments because of the video. A lot of people cussing me out. A lot of people saying a lot of ignorant stuff. And I was very disappointed in the community by that video because it was a lot of stuff. I think the thing that really got me the most was that on a different video of mine, not that video, on a different video of mine, someone commented with multiple other accounts. You could tell it was the same person, just on different accounts, where they decided to just make some racist and sexist comments about me, you know, telling me that, oh, girls shouldn't be playing games, go back to the kitchen, also saying the N-word to me, and also threatening me, telling me to check my closet and that they were going to come to my house. And obviously that was because of the video I made. And how can people not see, like, how can people not think about what they're saying in that moment and be like, you know what, maybe she had a point about that video. Because why are you acting like this? Seriously. So the response I got to that video, and granted, I got some positive responses, and I really appreciated those, and I don't let the negative responses get to me that much, but it still sucks that I can like go through my day normally, or I can even be having a really good day, and then I get a notification on my phone, I look at it, and it's someone calling me out my name because of this video. And overall, I have to say, it really did make me very disappointed in the community with the response that I got from that. It's one thing to disagree with someone. It's another thing to pretty much harass them with names and comments and things like that just because they disagree with you. And I guess it was a life lesson. I mean, I don't know what I expected. And of course, as a Black person, they were going to, you know, come at me a certain way and not listen to what I was saying. Because it was obviously that they didn't hear what I was saying, because I specifically said multiple times in that video that I did not think Aaron was racist, and I got multiple comments with people saying Aaron's not a racist. It's obvious that people did not actually pay attention and genuinely try to listen to what I was saying. And overall, it's just very disappointing that that happened. And I'm not going to make it seem like, oh, my main reason for leaving DBD is because of that. But it's definitely a part of it because, I mean, obviously when it comes to content creators, you don't see a lot of Black content creators in the front, you know? And to speak out about something and to have that type of backlash for it, it really makes it seem like you're not appreciated. You know, in every gaming community has issues. Like if I had this similar issue in Apex, for example, I'm sure I would get the same backlash. Like it's not simply a gaming issue. I know that. It's more of a societal issue. I know that. But it didn't make it any less annoying. But yeah, that's pretty much my main reasonings. I didn't want this video to be too long, but I feel like it's going to end up being too long anyways because I ramble so much. But yeah, I had some fun with the game. I hope the game still, you know, improves even after me not playing it anymore. And I know this means that, of course, my viewership, my engagement is obviously going to drop because I'm not playing the game that, you know, the people that have subscribed to me want me to play. I know that it's going to take me long to get YouTube partner now because of the drop in views and engagement and things like that. I feel like I'm starting from scratch. But you know, it's okay. I'm excited for the future and I don't blame anyone for unsubscribing because I'm not playing the game anymore. I understand it. You know, I don't always watch the same channels every year because, you know, things change. I get that. As far as what to expect from me in the future, like I said, I do play Apex. I'm not amazing at the game. I've only like recently, like I would say this year, started to take it really seriously. But I am playing it. But I don't know if I'll call it my main game because I'll be playing Apex, I'll be playing VHS, which just got an announcement today that they're finally coming back tomorrow. So that's really nice. I'll also play Sims, but that's more of like a every now and then type thing, just, you know, to have a little downtime. And I'll also just play games that I want to play, you know, games that I think I'll enjoy. I don't want to just stick to one game anymore. I just want to play whatever makes me happy. And it's the end of May and I have 2 games in June that I want to play. I want to play Silt that comes out in a week. It comes out this Wednesday. And I also want to play The Quarry like every other person in the world. So I'll definitely be playing those games. And again, I'll be playing Apex and VHS fairly consistently. I want to get back to streaming consistently next week. And on top of that, I'm just really trying to get into my art. So I'm going to stream like 2 to 3 times a week. But if I'm feeling too tired or there's more art stuff I want to work on, then I'm going to focus on that. Because gaming is definitely a passion of mine, but art is more of a passion of mine. And I've put it off for too long. And I really do want to make it happen. And I have been making it happen. I started my company like end of last year. And I've gotten some orders. So, I mean, a shameless plug here. But if you're interested in it, I do custom shoes, custom headphones, custom controllers. And art prints and stickers are supposed to come within the next month. So yeah, I'm very excited to really focus on that and focus on these new games that I'm trying out. But that's pretty much what you can expect from me. My channel definitely is going to be a bit different from here on out because obviously there's not going to be any Dead by Daylight content anymore. This is the last you will hear me talk about it. And I'm going to be playing other games. So I understand that, again, that a lot of people might not be interested in this new, direction, but I'm okay with that. I'm excited to see where things go. And if you made it to the end of this video, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know I ramble a lot, but we are finally at the end of it. And if you have any questions, any concerns, drop it down in the comment section below. I'm free to answer anything. I don't really care. I don't care what you ask. I'll answer it. I'm pretty much an open book, as long as you're not being offensive, of course. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So for everybody that has made it this far into my YouTube career, thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. And for the people that will continue to support me throughout this new journey, thank you, thank you. I really, really appreciate that because that means a lot to me. So yeah, I've been talking a lot through this. I don't want to hold up your time any longer. If you want to see any of my other social medias, they will be in the description down below, including the channel that I stream on because I do stream on YouTube. But yeah, thank you for watching and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.